Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, Part 1. When Gregor Samsa awoke one morning, he discovered that he had been transformed into a giant, monstrous insect. He couldn't gain control of his many legs, which waved frantically about in every direction. As he looked around his small bedroom, he saw a stack of fabric samples, his cutout of a lady wrapped in fur, and rain dripping down outside his window. It seemed that everything else in the world was still as it was when he fell asleep the night before. Gregor was a traveling salesman. It was a dull and tiring job, and he didn't like it because it prevented him from making friends, finding love, and having any free time, all of which were needed in order to lead a healthy life. His boss was strict and overbearing, and Gregor dreamed about how he longed to leave his job, but sadly he could not. His parents, whom he lived with along with his younger sister in a small apartment, were in great debt, and since they both refused to work, Gregor was the only source of income for his family, which put a great deal of stress on him. His thoughts of his current predicament were interrupted by a soft knocking at his bedroom door, and he realized that he had missed his train to work. His mother was on the other side of the door, and she was very concerned about Gregor's time management and why he had failed to catch his morning train, which he had never missed before. Gregor attempted to apologize, but his voice came out as a strange gurgle, which only made his mother more concerned, and his sister, upon hearing the strange noises, joined his mother at the door with more questions and concern that he was ill. With a great deal of effort, Gregor rolled his body off of the bed and onto the floor, when suddenly the doorbell rang. The family was very confused as to who would be arriving at such an early hour, and when the door was opened, Gregor's boss was waiting outside, and he was not happy. He was there to inform Gregor that he was very late to work, which was unacceptable, and to see what good excuse he had for his failure to show up. The office manager made his way to Gregor's bedroom and demanded that Gregor show himself. The manager went on and on about the importance of getting to work on time and inquired again about Gregor's excuse for being late. Gregor wasn't responding, and his parents lingered nervously behind, pleading for Gregor to come out of his room and to give an explanation. There was still no response, and his parents were worried that he was struck with illness and unable to speak. Meanwhile, Gregor's younger sister, Greta, was back in her room crying. With Gregor's failure to open the bedroom door, his boss launched into an angry complaint about Gregor's poor time management and work ethic, saying Gregor would soon be fired if this continued. Gregor's mother, who was listening to the whole report, begged the manager to be kind to Gregor. He was always dedicated to his work, and she reminded the boss that he had never before missed a day and was probably gravely ill. Gregor's boss, however, refused to accept this excuse. Meanwhile, on the other side of the bedroom door, Gregor was desperately trying to unlock the door by using his jaws to hold the key. Unused to his new bug body, however, Gregor was having a great trouble turning the key properly and was injured in the process. On the outside, his boss and family continued to ask for Gregor's appearance. His boss was getting more agitated and restless. His mother, who had heard the strange change in his voice before, was convinced that Gregor was gravely sick and begged her daughter to search for a doctor. His father, a man of great impatience, was growing very angry with Gregor. His sister, no longer crying in her room, was sent out of the house in search of a doctor and a locksmith. Gregor continued to twist the key until finally the door sprang open. Upon seeing the giant bug behind the door, Gregor's boss backed away into the hallway. His mother, a weak woman, immediately fainted upon seeing the gross insect, and his father became so overwhelmingly angry that he began to weep. Gregor instantly began to rapidly give an explanation and excuse of his disappearance, but no one could understand what he was saying. Gregor moved out into the hallway and towards his boss as he attempted again to communicate, but his boss only continued to move back from Gregor, and eventually he fled the house in terror. When the manager left, Gregor's father appeared and began forcing Gregor away by swatting at him with a rolled-up newspaper and a cane left behind by the office manager. Gregor, who was now learning to use his numerous tiny legs, was able to turn around and move towards his bedroom door as his father continued to threaten him. As Gregor was being pushed through the door, he realized that he was stuck, and it took a great deal of effort to get him back into the room. Gregor was once again alone in the dark, scared and confused about what his new life as a bug had in store for him, thus ending part 1 of Metamorphosis.